Yes, correspondent special with Big Rich Reynolds. How you doing?
Hey, I love these Christmas songs. I just love them.
We've been talking about Chris Rea's Driving Home for Christmas because it's not one you knew.
It is
know
not.
anything about it.
It is not. And I was accused. Oh my gosh! I'm just gonna show
It's the
my
reason why
show
it was
my
the
hands.
superstar today. I mean, it wasn't a hit in the States, was it?
No, it was not.
If you think it's over, was, but that wasn't.
We heard it for my wife and I heard it for the first time ever in the car on Friday. And we thought, God, this song is going on forever. What is it, like 12, 13 minutes? Maybe it's a half hour. It's, you're driving home for Christmas. I'm driving home. I'm still driving. I'm driving. And I looked at my wife. I go, "Is this a real song, or is this like a gag song, like Grandma got run over by a reindeer or something like that?"
I'm amazed.
Yeah. Oh no, everybody knows that. Back in hillbilly land where I come from, but no, it's a fine song. I just never heard it before, and
so that's why we had him on the Superstar today, anyway, Chris Rea. But there's lots of great stories around the song and why and when and how he wrote it, etc. And the fact that he actually never played it live until one year when he was playing the Hammersmith Apollo, and the crew were like, "It's the 20th of December. You've got to play Driving Home for Christmas." So he's like, "If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it effing well," he said.
Yeah.
And
what happened?
He basically hired a snow cannon. Let's go back to him talking about it because it's quite funny. So he said, "I hired this snow cannon because I said I was going to do it well. I'm going to do it properly. 12 snow cannons he hired. When we started the song, you couldn't hear it for the noise of the crowd, and we let go with the machines. We put 3 feet of artificial snow in the stalls. The venue charged me £12,000 to clean it up." I bet that's what he made on that year.
Good Lord.
Brilliant. Anyway.
Well, what is your favorite Christmas song?
Greg Lake.
Really?
Yeah.
Father Christmas? Oh, that's a great song.
It is.
That's a great song.
A close second, Fahrenheit, or known as Münchener, Freiheit, Münchener Freiheit, as they're known as in Germany.
Yeah.
We're keeping the dream alive. There's a great full, long version of it. I don't know. And that's not really a Christmas song, but it's always out this time of year.
One of my favorites is a song that I used to use when I worked in production back in the day, and it was "Celebrate Me Home" by Kenny Loggins, and which is kind of a Christmas song, but nobody ever plays it as a Christmas song. But it's really about, family and coming over the house and then you kicking them out after a couple of days and saying, "Go back to where you came from, you bums. What are you're eating all my food." So
did a whole show with Rosie last week, Christmas songs that aren't Christmas songs, if you know what I mean. Songs that come out that time of year but aren't actually Christmas songs.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing to do.
That. Yeah, it was great.
Was any alcohol involved during that show?
When we put it together, there was. There was some Glühwein, actually. In fact, there was a bottle of Glühwein.
My favorite.
Yeah, so next week, if you're around at this time, we will do the biggest Billboard Christmas hits.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
I was surprised at how they
That's
differ.
about 100 songs?
But we'll do over 4 hours on next Tuesday, so it'll be about 40 odd. But the biggest US Christmas songs from Billboard. It's weird how it compares with the UK one, which I'll do the following day next week, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because there's quite a lot on the American one that's not on the British one. And likewise, obviously, they're not older for some reason.
But if you listen to Christmas music in the States, you'll hear a lot of
the stuff from Home Alone.
There's a lot of Home Alone stuff in there, but it's like Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, which is from the 50s. I used to listen to that. I don't want to date myself, but it was. I had a little. I had a little
coming out.
I had a record player in my room, and I would sit there, and I had all these Christmas albums, and this is kind of sad, isn't it? I would sit alone in my room and play these Christmas albums.
When else are you going to do that?
Well, I don't want to play them in front of my parents. I was like 10 years old. I was a kid, so I don't know. But there are a lot of songs from the 50s and 60s. Yeah,
you were DJing at 10, eh?
At 10, yes.
I love it. Excellent. Me too. Right.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get down to business. Rich is here, of course, as always, on a Tuesday to look at events in the United States of America. We'll get to that man shortly, but again, just as we, before we're due to come on air, another school shooting, an inordinate amount of school shootings again in the US of A this year. And the latest, another devastating incident for the community.
We had gone a while without talking about a shooting, but I would love to do a show just once where somebody didn't get shot or killed. And it's so tragic. And this one was in Wisconsin, in Madison, which is the home of the University of Wisconsin. It's a beautiful city, absolutely spectacular city. And this one, the shooter was a girl. It was a 15-year-old girl. There was some talk whether or not she was trans or not, but God love the mayor who said it doesn't, or was it the chief of police who said it doesn't matter? Mm-hmm. But this was a young woman named Samantha Rupnow, who unfortunately, after she killed a few people, killed herself, and there are a bunch of people still in the hospital that are recuperating. But this is she apparently had some manifesto that had some very hateful views and that she had put online. So that's the one thing about these shootings. A lot of these people are quite disturbed, and they share these thoughts with so many other people, so they can kind of see what the purpose is of this thing.
School shootings really are not just in the States, obviously. They are. You experience them in other countries as well, but something like 400 or something in the past year in the United States, and it's really something that you'd hope that you could get on top of, but not while you have the gun laws.
No, it's not just the school shootings that really bothers me. As we talked last week, my wife and I were back in the States for about a week and a half, and we were down in New Orleans, and her hometown, and there were 7 shootings one night. 3 of them were on the street that we were in a hotel. So 7 shootings, and one of them was a 3-year-old child. And it was just it's so out of control and so crazy. And I know Americans really would like to have some sort of gun control legislation. They just can't seem to.
Ridiculous.
They just can't seem to get it done as a Congress. It's just awful.
83rd school shooting of 2024.
Yeah.
But there have been a number of other shootings. I don't think that was quite correct, actually. But
no, I think the number of
323.
That sounds more like it
in the country this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to another story which has been dominating the headlines, and nobody seems to be able to get a hold of this. Although the FBI have tried to, despite the incoming president not believing a word of it all. This is the drone scenario, where we've had this in the UK. Drones over the US military bases there, but now a number of places in the States as well, amongst the military bases.
10 states. Yeah. 10 states in the US. They've just added Virginia to that this week, and they can't figure out what it is. Hundreds and hundreds of these drones are hanging over mainly the eastern seaboard, but also places like Florida and Massachusetts and Texas also, and California, as I think I said.
The FBI warning people not to shoot them down.
Yeah, don't shoot them down, because, and if anybody's listening, well, if you're listening and you're in the U.S. and you have a weapon, please don't shoot them down, because then the blades fall down and can cause damage, and you never know. It may not be a drone. It may be an aircraft. It could be a helicopter.
Right. This is what the FBI said. Having closely examined the technical data and tips from concerned citizens, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and stars mistakenly reported as drones. We've not identified anything anomalous and do not assess the activity to date to present a national security or public safety risk over the civilian airspace of New Jersey or other states in the Northeast.
Well, somebody's
saying it's fine, but the incoming president was like, there's something going on here. Well, something strange going on.
But nobody really seems to know. Even the FBI doesn't know. The Homeland Security doesn't know. Mayorkas, who's the head of Homeland Security, doesn't know. And what he did say is it's not the Iranians, it's not the Chinese, and it's not Martians. So don't shoot them down. I would love to be in some of those meetings where they have ideas on what it might be, but they can't be hobbyists. They can't be people who just happen to got drones for Christmas and they got them early and they're just flying drones. I understand that, but it's interesting that they're all flying at night. That's the most interesting thing to me. And there are thousands of these sightings.
It's a bit mad. There's been some stuff on Truth Social. I don't know if you've caught this, where
what did it say?
One of the most bizarre theories that on Donald Trump's Truth Social is the meme suggesting they're delivering large quantities of McDonald's to the ex-New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who's a little bit on the larger side.
He's a big boy.
Right. We'll move on and we'll talk about some of the serious issues as President Trump comes to take power within the next few weeks. Looking first at big business starting to basically toe the line, as it were.
Yeah, it's quite different than it was 8 years ago when he took over, when everybody was fighting, and the Democrats wanted to bring him down even during his term, and now and all the businesses were. Well, I wouldn't say all the businesses, but businesses that didn't like Trump were just saying, we're going to do everything we can to defeat this guy.
Well, certainly Zuckerberg's been giving him money. He wasn't really a fan, was he?
No, Zuckerberg and Bezos.
Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Sam Altman of OpenAI
right.
also.
And the head of the guy who heads up Google, they're all giving him money for the for his inauguration. I might point out that large companies giving money to presidents for their inauguration is normal. It's a tradition. You can't look at it and go, why would they give money to Trump? Well, because Trump holds the purse strings, or Biden held the purse strings, and so did Obama, and it's a case where you don't want to piss off the president.
You're buying future cookies or sweeties, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess
sweeteners.
That's a good way to put
it. And you're allowed to do this. Otherwise, does he have to pay for it himself, the inauguration? Is that not taxpayers' money that pays for that?
Oh, please. You're hilarious. him paying for his own inauguration. Are you kidding?
Well, he's made a few bucks since he became president.
This is a guy that got sued for taking money from a children's charity that he himself was running.
But normally, I guess it comes out of the president's own funds. Yeah.
Yeah. It comes
all supporters.
All supporters,
but
and
not
don't.
The taxpayer.
It is not coming from the taxpayer,
right, okay.
And it's not. Most of the money that's spent is for security and putting up the.
Right.
One thing that I find kind of interesting and have always found interesting about the inauguration is that. Even if a president is serving a second term, even though Obama, for instance, served a second consecutive term in 2012, they still inaugurated him. Mm-hmm. Even though he didn't leave, it was nothing. They said, well, you give a speech. You're staying in the building. You're not going anywhere. I don't think there's any need. If I were running the government, I'd say, you just got reelected. You don't need the pomp and circumstance. We know what you look like and that whole thing. But so it'll be kind of a big thing. And
the president-elect was loving it. The first term, everybody was fighting me. This term, everybody wants to be my friend.
Yeah, yeah. The climate is a little bit different. But the one thing that I've talked about in the past, and it's just that where he gets to why people are kind of towing the line and people are liking him more, and a lot of it is because he threatens them. If you don't do this, then I'll do this. And, his proclivity to say, well, I may be raising taxes. I may be doing X or Y. And it's that sort of thing that makes the stock market nervous. It makes people nervous. You're better off just waiting and doing it, and just talk amongst yourselves as to whether or not you're going to change policy or you're going to eliminate vaccines for polio, God help us.
With him, you mentioned the polio vaccine then, and Donald Trump repeating his support of the polio vaccine, but RFK Jr. Not so happy. Well, he said, actually, I saw him saying, I don't mind vaccines. I'm not worried about vaccines. This was RFK.
Yeah. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth, and so which kind of makes people a little bit nervous, because if there's one vaccine in the world that has done the job that it's supposed to do, it's Jonas Salk's polio vaccine. It's been around for about 70 years, and it's because of that people haven't gotten polio. I mean, it's been wiped out. Now for him to say, I think I'm going to get rid of the polio vaccine because there's a connection with autism. I'm not a doctor, or at least it's been a while since I've been to medical school, which was never. But, I look at this and I go, just stop talking about this. Stop making people nervous. And then thank God Trump came out and said, I'm not getting rid of the polio vaccine. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. On top of that, it would, a lot of these threats are really, it would take them a long time to execute this. You can't
do it overnight.
You can't do it overnight, and you cannot do it by executive order. And if any president stood up and said, I'm going to issue an executive order, we're getting rid of vaccines, I'm telling you, there would be rioting riots in the streets because it's. I mean, vaccines. 99% of them are really good, and they're good for you. So
we should clarify that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is Donald Trump's pick for health secretary. Some of what he's saying, though, about the amount of chemicals and things in the foods that Americans eat may well be good if he gets those taken out.
There's no question about that. There's no question.
Chlorinated chicken, for instance, hormones in beef.
Yep.
Apparently they're not going to be part of any trade deal for Britain.
Well, all any American has to do is come to Europe and look at the food here and look at the chicken that you get in or beef or any meat that you get in the grocery store, and you look at it and you go, it looks a lot different than American chicken because
what do you mean, healthier?
It is healthier,
but smaller.
Oh, definitely small. Everything here is smaller, but having these chickens that are plumped up and and they've got muscles, and I saw a chicken move one time in the wrapper. It just stood. I was so big, and no, I didn't. Look at you. You're believing me.
Actually,
no, and it was it had muscles.
I know. I remember when I first came to Spain. Actually, their fresh chickens would just be there with their heads like that.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't see that anymore so much, do you?
That's
certainly not in the wrapper anyway.
No, not on the wrapper.
But you have seen the little suckling pigs, ready? Right?
I have.
Donna and Massimas both have those. Yeah,
I know.
Tasty too.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I've ever had one of those, but American food is full of nasty stuff, and one of these things where you could look around and say, in the new year, I'm going to eat a lot healthier and that sort of thing. You can't avoid this stuff. You can't avoid all the sugar, that's in things. A glass of orange juice, which I love a good glass of juice, but it's just filled with sugar and it's kind of nasty, and that's why when you get on a plane from the States, the plane dips down quite a bit when Americans get on board. I mean, we are a chunky bunch.
You're allowed to say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
We are. There's a lot of us, and we are a little extra chunky.
Well, maybe some of those things might be taken out of the food if RFK Jr. gets his way. Meanwhile, a judge has denied the incoming president the petition, to dismiss that hush money case over immunity claims. I thought that basically now the president-elect could do what he liked. But,
that's what the Supreme Court says. But
Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan is standing up to him.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court has said, he's got expanded powers. He can do some things that he couldn't do before they passed judgment that he could do a little bit more. But
this is the Stormy Daniels hush money trial,
this is Stormy Daniels. But so basically, if you hold to that, it would say that he's allowed to hang out with a prostitute and write bad checks. That's what the Supreme Court says, and it is not what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said, presidentially, we give you a little bit more power, you get a little bit more leeway. So the other things that he's being indicted for, he may end up passing this one. But what happened is, this is one of those things where you don't get what you want unless you ask. And so he and his lawyers were basically going into this judge going, well, now that he's president, of course, this is an exact quote because I was there. Now that you're president, this law doesn't apply to him anymore. And the judge said, no, we're still going through with this, and you're still liable for all that money.
Okay. Well, so that decision then means that the historic conviction of Trump, if upheld, would make him the first felon to serve in the White House.
Yep, that's right. How proud we are.
Big stuff. Right, so we were talking previously about the incoming president. We mentioned that the major tech companies are going to give him loads of money. Amazon, $1 million. Apparently, another $1 million coming from its... is that another $1 million from Prime? I'm not sure. Anyway, Meta already said...
And Prime is going to televise it too.
That's right. Yeah, Meta had already said they were going to give him $1 million. Amazon also going to... We don't know how much, do we, yet from Amazon at the moment?
No.
But
probably...
they were previously not bedfellows.
No, all these people hated him. They wanted to string him up in the town hall parking lot. But he, they need him, and he needs them. There's no question about it. And as a consumer, I'm happy when they all play nice. I think that's great. Give him $1 million to Jeff Bezos is nothing, of course.
Interesting though that he should meet the TikTok CEO Shuzi Chu, because apparently they are, they're basically in January they could cease to exist in their current form in the United States. But I wonder whether he's going to do something to stop that happening.
I don't know, Trump right now, originally, 8 years ago, he was against TikTok when he found out, the Chinese could be using the information. But for some reason now he's softened on the whole thing. And I would think that if it weren't for the fact that the Congress is so worked up about TikTok right now and the idea of information sharing and that sort of thing, I think that TikTok would be sticking around, but I really have doubts about it. I think TikTok is going to be sold right before the deadline, which
it's got
is
to be
January
just before
19th.
he's sworn in.
Yeah, that is coincidentally the day before he's sworn in.
I think that might have been actually on purpose, don't you?
Yeah,
Set for that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see because it's not been confirmed, has it? Or it has now that he was at Mar-a-Lago, the TikTok CEO. On Monday, he was there. They've confirmed that
they were all together, and I get that. They're all down there, as they say, kissing the ring, and he loves it, and I have no problem with it. Personally, I mean, let's all play nicely, and if money makes the world go round, that's fine, and that's all Trump understands is money. It seems
okay,
and but there seems to be a kinder, gentler version of him.
He does at the moment
a little bit, But I say for me the one thing I hate is all the threats. I mean that doesn't sit well, I think, with a lot of people. But it's just play nicely, we'll see what happens.
All right, let's switch to the Democrats.
There we
go. News that party aides are confident in the U.S. vice president's ability to bounce back, bidding for California governor and presidential candidate again in 28. Really?
Well, she's got some decisions to make because Gavin Newsom was the he's in the position until 2027. Yeah,
he's the California governor.
Yeah, he's in an off year. Being an odd-numbered year, and so we don't know what he's going to do. And Newsom is he's at term limits, so he's got to leave. He's got to leave office. So it's not that he's being kicked out; he's got to go.
And what would his next step perhaps be?
Gee, I wonder what that's going to be. But there was a reason why Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer and from Michigan and also Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania did not be considered for vice president. It's because all three of them, I believe, and I have reason to believe that they're going to be running for president, and probably by 2026, all three of those three people, and they're all good people, they're going to be throwing their hat in the ring. I got to tell you,
Democrats might stand a chance this time. Then
they might stand a chance. I mean, there's some good people in there, but there frequently are good people no matter what. But she's got a decision to make because she's got to either declare for California. And I can't imagine anybody becoming governor of California, running a whole campaign that's going to take you over a year to run, and then all of a sudden desert California and go, now I'm going to run for president. I just don't think it's
when does she have to make her mind up?
Well, I would
about a year to go till.
I would think by the end of 2025. But whether or not the Democratic Party is clamoring for her to run again, I think everybody is still really smarting over the fact
they've started to float the ideas.
Yeah.
I think that was the way it was put in print.
I'd be interested to know what people think out there.
It's too early. I mean, at the moment, people are just going to say no. I would have thought you'd have to wait.
I don't know if we're getting any calls or any emails on this one, but these are people that are probably really close to her.
Basically, it's everybody saying Greg Lake is the best Christmas song.
Greg Lake.
Are they really? Like the Pogues as well. You asked, so I checked.
I asked. I want to know what people think out there. We know what we think.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
That is, but as an Emerson, Lake and Palmer fan, I think it's a great song. Yeah.
I'm going to switch. I was going to play Mariah, but I'm not now. Update us on this, because it's a little bit confusing for us Brits. The Luigi Mangione story. This is the person that allegedly shot the CEO of United Healthcare.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money come from the public for his defense.
There's not nearly as much as we thought was going to come in. He's got $130,000 coming in. And these are from people who just think he's hot looking, people who think there must be people who think he's not guilty. But boy, this is not looking good for him. I mean, there's video all the way around, their fingerprints and everything. And everything says that he's probably the guy. But as you say, allegedly he's, innocent until proven guilty. But, everything from Saturday Night Live to late night comics.
$140,000 in donations on the crowdfunding Give, Send, Go. I did see somebody being a little bit more sensible about it, saying that they donated because they believe in a fair trial. So despite all this evidence, somebody should still have proper representation, which you got to agree with, you know?
Yeah, but a funny thing to me is that he comes from a lot of money. His parents were, he was a Yale graduate himself, and he has parents who seem to have the means to, because they've hired a really high-powered attorney in New York, and he's being extradited back to New York. So that's where his trial is going to be. Everybody knows he was caught in this small city, Altoona, in Pennsylvania, but he is going back to New York to stand trial. But the fact is that his folks have money, and he's got a lot of friends out there. A lot of people were coughing up dough for different reasons. There's no question he's a good-looking guy, and he's only 26 years old.
Yeah, the mainstream media were on about that. He's such a great-looking guy. What's that got to do with the world?
I know. It really bothers me because at the end of the day, regardless of what you think, here's a man who had a family.
Allegedly killed somebody.
He was gunned down by being shot in the back right in front of a hotel.
Okay, I know there's one story you really want to get in. So what's going to happen when Time Magazine's Person of the Year for the second time comes in? The Fed are set to cut interest rates this week, but the experts are saying next year is bringing uncertainty when the president-elect takes control.
Yeah, the Fed.
Bitcoin's
they're
not
meeting
agreeing
tomorrow.
with that right now.
Yeah,
for instance.
But the markets are going to be really. What happens is the American markets will go up tomorrow. They'll tick upwards when the Fed announces it. But I certainly the European Central Bank really doesn't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen because when Trump was voted into office, the stock market just was propelled the next day, and everybody was making a lot of money that was in the market. Now the market has kind of settled back in. It's up one day, down one day, but not a whole lot.
Back to where it was, effectively.
Yeah.
It's not really done a lot. But, we'll have to see. All right, I'll give you a minute on the googly eyes on Oregon City sculptures, which are upsetting the officials.
I'm telling you. Thank God
I saw this story. It was great.
Thank God we got to the googly eyes story.
Yeah.
I know we're running out of time here, but in my home state of Oregon, in Bend, Oregon, which is right in the middle of the state, it's a very conservative area. I want to tell you, it's that's a kind of a red area compared to Portland, which is really, really quite blue. People are putting googly eyes on the.
So these are the big eyes you kind of see on teddy bears and on stuffed animals.
Yeah.
But they've been going up on sculptures, on all kinds of different things. We don't know who it is or what it's about.
No, we don't. Of course, they don't know who's doing it. But of course, there's a Grinch in city council going, they really shouldn't be doing this. It's going to cost $1,500 for us to take the googly eyes off of them. And a lot of Oregonians are going, leave the googly eyes on. They look good.
I love it.
Put it on George Washington's statue.